maybe do some kind of like curvy tower. That's fun. Maybe a little chimney. So, if you decide you want to change something, you can always erase. That's why we use the pencil, the first step. So you can make your haunted house look a little different. I think I'm going to change this a little bit. It's kind of a crazy shape, huh? I even add one more little bit on the side here. So then once you have the basic shape here, the next step is to start adding in doors and windows. So I'm going to add a nice big rectangle for my door. Some rectangles on the door, and then a little doorknob. And your windows, you can make them any size. You want any size or shape. You can have a circle window. You can have a rectangle window. So the way you tell it's a window is you can put this little crisscross for the beams inside. So if I wanted to make like a heart shape or a star shape, this one I think is going to be an arch. It's a good window shape. For this, the next step on this hill, we're going to add a little bit of a fence. So you can start with the fence posts sticking up out of that hill. Okay. More on the other side too. And then we can connect them third line on the top. And then the very last thing I'm going to do with my fence is to add these little pokey arrows on the top of each of those fence posts. That makes it look a little spookier. How are you two coming so far?
Good.
Good. Do you need me to go back and explain anything?
You can just raise your hand.
Yeah, you can raise your hand, or you can, since it's just the two of you, you can just speak up and ask if you have any questions.
Ask your question. You can just raise your hand and ask questions. This way.
Ooh. Check that out. Nice fence. I love that. So then once you're ready, we can add a few more details in. Oh yeah, how's yours coming, Ari? Nice. Oh, I like your shapes that you're doing. Is that like a jack-o'-lantern on top?
Yeah.
Cool. I love it. So, a few more things that we can do here. I'm going to add in a little pathway. So here's a sketching tip that I do all the time. If you take your pencil and you press really light, I'm going to mark out where I want my pathway to be. But the way I want it to actually look like. So I want to have these little stepping stones, these little round pebbles on the ground. I don't want it to have an outline. So I drew out that outline super, super light so I can erase it easily and it doesn't have to be in my final picture. Everything else that I want to be in my picture, I'm pressing the way I would normally press. We need another window here. I can do some smoke out of my chimney. Somebody's in there. I bet it's a ghost. I think I'm gonna draw a little ghost coming out here. So I can start out with this sort of teardrop shape. Just the way I'm gonna do it. A little upside down teardrop, and have my arms, the ghost coming out. And 2 eyes, and then a big open spooky mouth. So usually when you would draw a ghost, you would want the inside of the eyes and the mouth to be really dark black, right? I'm not going to color that in yet. I'm going to save that for later. I think also in the background, I'm going to do a couple more details. I'm going to do a crescent moon. So start out with the little C and then fit another smaller C inside of it. Crescent moon. Little stars, maybe? Nighttime scene. I'm just doing little circles for the stars now. When I color it in later, I'm going to make them more twinkly. And then I think that looks pretty good. I think that is... Oh, you know what? Oh, one more thing I wanted to show you. So this is something you can do if you want to make it a little bit more complex. So you can add in a tree here. So I'll maybe even do another hill farther away in the background. I'm going to start out with my tree trunk. So it starts from the bottom, starts out thicker and gets a little bit thinner and thinner as it goes up. And then from here, can have some branches. And then on top of each of these smaller branches, I'm going to have even smaller branches. So each branch has some other little branches sticking out of it. And then this small branch can have some tiny branches coming out of it. So you can just keep adding branches that get tinier and tinier and tinier. Have more branches that go out this way. So anytime you want to draw a tree and branches, you can start off doing a big branch and then have little teeny tiny ones that split off like that. So I'm not going to draw any leaves on this tree because it looks a lot spookier just like that. So I think I'm pretty happy with this, the way it is. And I'm going to do some tracing. So do you all have like a pen or a Sharpie or something with you? No? If you don't, then that's okay. But sometimes, a lot of times, tracing with a Sharpie is a really great way to really have some really nice outlines on your picture. If you don't have them, that's no big deal. I'll show you what it looks like without the Sharpie.
Okay. Irene went upstairs to get one.
Oh, okay, okay.
Take your time, Irene.
So we'll do some tracing. So I'm gonna very carefully try to stay on my pencil lines, make it nice and neat. And trace the outline of the house. I'm not going to trace my stars because I want them to be super bright and white and shiny. I don't want them to have a big thick black outline like everything else. So I'm not going to trace them. I'm just going to leave them the way they are. But this ghost can get traced. Arms, and now I can use the black Sharpie to fill in the eyes and the mouth. So, do you two have any fun Halloween costumes planned out?
I'm gonna be Wonder Woman for Halloween.
Wonder Woman! Oh, that's fun! With the moon. I don't think I'm going to trace the moon. I want to leave it white. I don't want it to have a big black outline. You know what would be a fun detail to add down here in the hill?
Grass.
Yeah, we could add some grass. I think that I'm also gonna do, I think in the original one there was a little tombstone here. I'm gonna show you how to do that too. So it starts out like an arch. Same like this, but then instead of a flat line for the bottom, I'm going to do a jaggedy zigzag line to make it look like it's coming up out of the grass. You can make one side a little bit thicker to make it look more 3D. And if you have enough room, you can write a little something on there. You could do R.I.P. for rest in peace. You could do a little picture. You could do a little ghost on there. I'm going to go ahead and trace that too. I'm going to color in this thicker side. Final thing to trace is this hill in the back and the tree. All those branches. So drawing it out with the pencil first is really helpful, because then you don't have to think so much when you trace. You can just follow exactly what you laid out for yourself already. You're doing yourself a favor. And I'm going to color in this tree with the black Sharpie too. Maybe even add a couple thick roots coming down from the tree. Final thing I'm going to do for eye color is I'm going to do some erasing. I'm not going to erase the moon and the stars because I still need to see where those are. But everything else, I'm going to get rid of all the pencil marks because I don't need those anymore. Just a second to go get my eraser. So now that the Sharpie's dry, you can just drag your eraser across the whole thing like I'm doing here. Just big motions with your eraser. Back and forth. And don't forget to wipe all those eraser shavings off once you're done erasing. Blow on them to get them off. Oh, there's a little something I forgot to say. Uh-oh. No worries, I can go back and do it now. Oh, it's the roof. Oh my goodness, look at that. Oh, you did your fence going all the way around. That's cool. That's very creative. Yeah, how about yours, Aggie? Oh, very cool. Nice. Yeah, so keep on going with that tracing. It's okay if you take a little longer to do this. I'm going to move forward and start showing you how to do the coloring. But feel free to spend a little bit more time on yours if you need to. If you have any questions or if you missed something, feel free to ask and I can help explain. Just, here we go. Okay. So I'm going to color in the haunted house all black. I want it to be like a spooky silhouette. But the thing about using black as a color, with the oil pastel, is that it's the darkest color, which means that it is super messy. If you try to do black and then do another color next to it, that other color is going to start mixing with the black and it's going to get super dirty. So we absolutely can use the black. Totally. You can use as much black as you want in your picture, but you have to save it for last. So remember that black is always last. I'm going to put it aside for now, and I'm going to get started on this sky in the back. I think in my sky, I'm going to take all my purples and blues. Some nice dark purples and blues. And I'm going to show you how to blend them together in the background to make a cool sky. Oh, nice. Are those your oil pastels? That's a nice collection of purples and blues there. Looks great. So put them in whatever order that you want. I think I'm going to do this order. I'm going to have a little bit of purple at the bottom, then go indigo blue, and then dark blue up at the top. So I'm going to start by, I have this little hill behind my first hill. So my sky is going to begin here. I can start coloring the background. And it's okay to go over your Sharpie lines for your branches. You can still see those, even with the oil pastel on top. I'm pressing a little lighter here. Top of the Sharpie marks for your fence as well. So right now we're only doing the background. So then once I've done my purple all the way across, I'm going to switch to my blue, indigo, whatever my next color is going to be. And I'm going to do the same thing right next to it.
This is how mine's going.
Yeah, let me see. Oh, very cool. So you're going all the way around. You have something big behind your house?
That's the moon.
The moon. Okay, yeah, very smart to go around your moon. I'm going to go around my moon too. Moon's right up here. Yeah, so I'm going to totally leave the moon white, at least for now.
I'm gonna make my moon this colorish.
Ooh, like a peach color? Ooh, that's a good moon color.
It's a sort of yellow color.
Nice, like a light yellow?
Yeah, sort of.
Awesome, that's a really good moon color. So, check out what I'm doing with these two colors here. I'm going on top of the first color with the second color. If one color is lighter than the other, then you should go on top with the lighter color. But since the purple and the indigo are about the same darkness, it doesn't really matter which order. So I'm going to go on top and I'm going to mix them together in the middle. my indigo, I'm going to switch to my blue. And I'm going to go around my ghost. Something to remember is that with oil pastel or color pencil, it's very easy to put a darker color on top of what you already have. So if I had put down yellow, I could very easily put a red on top of it because red is darker than yellow. But if I started out with red, it would be very hard to put yellow on top of red. It might even be impossible. So you have to be very careful.
I'll make orange.
You're right. Yeah, that would make orange together. It wouldn't look like yellow. It would look like orange.
And in case you don't want orange and you want red and yellow only, and they get too close, that might turn orange.
Yeah, that is totally a good point. So, a good way to avoid colors mixing together when you don't want them to is to always use the lighter color first. So out of red and yellow, which one do you think is lighter?
Yellow.
Yellow? I totally agree. So I think it would be a great idea to put the yellow down first and then add the red in that case. Right, now I've got my dark blue at the top, so I'm gonna keep mixing the colors in between. See how you can't really tell where one color begins and where the ends, right? Because I went through and I blended them together, really mixing the borders of each one to get rid of those outlines and make it look smooth. All the way around my whole path.
Are you adding some details, Alex?
Around those little stars. So if I'm having trouble being neat with my coloring, what I'll usually do is I will trace the outline of the shape first before I start coloring. That'll help me get the shape, the outline. And this part I can be a little bit more wild with, because I don't have to worry about the outlines. But even still, I want to make sure that it looks nice and even and filled in all the way through. So if I colored it, maybe you can see what I'm doing up here. If I colored it like that part, that's not really solid. I'm going to go through on top of it again and do a little better the second time. So you can always do another layer. You need to fill it in a little bit more. Now I'm just going to fill in, I'm going to blend the final part of my sky, take the lighter blue, and use it to mix the darker blue, put the lighter color to blend. And there we go. I'm pretty happy with this sky. So, let's see, for this hill, I think that, whoa, hey, look at that. That looks great so far. Awesome blending. Great job. So then after your sky, we're still gonna save the black part of the house for last, right? So I'm gonna do my hills in the background. And I'm gonna press super light with this to get a rougher texture. I'm even kind of using the side of it. Hey, nice. Oh my goodness, look at all those details. That's great. I love all your windows.
Good. I mean, do you remember how to blend?
Yeah. I need to erase.
Yeah, so go ahead and erase your pencil lines first, and then you can start coloring your sky. I'm using the side of it instead of straight up and down. I'm tilting my oil pastel to the side, using it really light to get a different texture for this dirt in the ground. I'm using the brown dirt for the hill in the background, and then I'm going to do green grass for the one in the front. I'm going to use different greens. I'm going to do the top part lighter green. I'm going to do the bottom part a little bit darker. So again, I can show you how to blend it together just like the sky. Start out just filling in your colors like regular. Make sure you get in all the blank spots. And I'm going to be super careful to go around all of these stones in my path too. I'm being a little bit more slow and careful in this part. So I don't want to go over my lines. Here we go. Top part, and then I'm going to switch to my dark green in the bottom. Okay, so now I have my two colors in my hill filled in. I'm going to go back to my light green. Ooh, how's it coming? Nice! Awesome progress. Looks great so far. So now I'm going to go back to my light green, and just like I did with the sky, I'm going to blend, use kind of little circle or oval movements with my oil pastel to really get rid of that outline and really blend those two colors together where they meet. down up here to take a couple other greens. I'm going to add in some little tiny marks here to show the grass. Because this hill, it's not smooth, right? It's not made of green plastic. We want to show that it's made out of grass. So I'm going to add a bunch of marks for my grass right here to make it look more interesting. You can even mix and match colors when you do that. Even a few little yellow ones. And something that you can do to make it a little bit more advanced is you can take, I'm going to take this teal here, or like a darker green, or even a blue, go around the base of the tombstone. I'm going to extend a little shadow outwards, downwards. Shadow. That way it really looks like it's sticking up out of the ground. I think I might add a little bit of a shadow right here at the edge of my house as well. Ooh, nice color choices for your sky, Irene. Okay. So, remember how I said we were going to do the black last? So, one thing that I want to do before that, because I don't need to color in all the rest of this house, but I do need to color in the doors and the windows. I'm going to make those glow yellow, show that somebody's inside. So I'm going to do that yellow first before I do the black. Do a little bit of blending to do some orange around the outside of the window. Using that outline, that outer edge of the window with the orange makes it look more fiery, right? Like somebody's got the fireplace on inside the house. And that's where the smoke is coming out. So speaking of smoke, for that, I'm going to, instead of just coloring it in solid, what I'm going to do is fill it with little gray curly cues to make it really look puffy. So I'm going to do my gray cobblestones here. So far.
I mean, I'm thinking if you cover this one. See, it's gonna be more blended that time. This is now the stripes. You wanna show it to the teacher?
Wait.
Yeah, why don't you show me your work? Nice.
I was trying to blend it a little more. So it's
Yeah, so you can absolutely do, and that's what I did down here, is filling in the stripes and the basic colors first, and then blending it afterwards. You can totally do that. Or you can blend as you go. Whatever works better for you, as long as it gets blended sometime before the end of the picture.
I even made a witch shadow
Oh, a witch shadow?
over there.
Oh, very cool.
The witch is over there.
The witch is over there, and then the witch has a little shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Love that. You know what? I think you just gave me a good idea. I'm going to do a little shadow on my tree. I think my tree's going to have a little shadow. Bending downwards from my tree. I'll do a little shadow. Roughly following the same shape downwards away from the moon. So the things that are white in oil pastel, you can leave those blank, or you can fill it in with the white. I think I'm going to fill mine in with the white because I want to blend like a little shadow. So I'm gonna fill this in with the white to make it look more finished.
wow. Rainbow.
And if you have oil pastel going on top of your Sharpie that you don't really want to be there, let me blend that out. That's going to be a shadow. So you can always cover up, the Sharpie gets covered up. You can bring that back with black oil pastel on top at the very end. I'm going to have a little bit of shadow on my ghost. On the bottom side, just a little bit of blue. And then I'm going to take the white again, a lighter color, and blend it just like I did with everything else. Make it super smooth. I'll cover up the black eyes and mouth again later. Let's see. Last thing I want to do before I do the black is my door.
I'm watching my hand later too.
Little silver doorknob. Do my moon. I'm gonna do my moon white. I think I'm gonna do my stars yellow. Pushing that up a little bit. Yellow stars. Oh. Let's see something else that needs to be blended that I forgot the first time. So I can always go back and fix that later. There we go. I think that looks a little better now. A few more stars. Something you can do if you're just doing little tiny dots and you're having trouble seeing them, you can put your oil pastel straight up and down on the paper and then swiveling it back and forth, kind of like you're opening a tube of toothpaste. Just swiveling it back and forth. That's a really good way to make little stars. Could work for polka dots too. Nice! That's awesome!
You want to blend in here too?
Yeah, you can totally go back and do some blending. You can also go back and, fill in some of those little white spots. If you look at your background, look over your background and figure out, are there any little areas that you accidentally forgot the first time? You can always go back and do what I'm doing. See, I want this to be a little bit more smooth here. I'm just gonna go back with the same color, fill in those little white spots.
I can put in this. I
think I'm pretty much ready to move on to the black oil pastel. Great. I'm not going to do Sharpie this part because Sharpie doesn't go on top of other art materials very well. Doesn't really go on top of oil pastel or color pencil or chalk pastel or anything like that. The only thing it can go on top of is watercolor. And you have to make sure your watercolor is dry before you do that. So instead of using Sharpie, I'm going to switch to my oil pastel. And I'm being super careful, coloring slow and careful to stay inside the lines and fill in all my white spots. I don't want to color like this, right? That's not going to look like a very scary haunted house. It's got to be filled in all black all the way.
So Alex is asking if he can put watercolor on top of all your pastel.
Yes, you can watercolor on top of oil pastel. Absolutely. They don't mix together unless you buy like the special water soluble oil pastels. If they're just regular oil pastels, you can absolutely do watercolor on top and fill in your background that way.
Are you sure you want it will be so pretty?
Yep. But before you do watercolor, you have to make sure that you're done with all of your oil pastel. Figure out if there's any last little details that you want to do, adding in any other little stars or little shadows, any little pieces of grass, any bats flying in the sky. I might do a couple little bats at the end. So you got to be absolutely sure that you're done, and then you can do watercolor. I'm not going to do watercolor for this one. I feel like it's going to be done enough just as it is. nice. Oh, check that out. What a lovely selection of colors. That's awesome. That looks great. So I think the only thing is that the pink and the purple need to be blended a little bit more. The rest of it looks really good. And then you can go ahead and move on to the next part.
I don't know if we have watercolor.
We used to have it, don't we?
Use what?
The black pad.
What do you mean?
All right. So it looks like we only have about 5 more minutes for the session. So before you go, I'd love to... I know, right? Time flies when you're having fun. So before we go, I'd love to, just see you show me each of your pictures and tell me what was your favorite part. So Alex, do you want to go first? Why don't you hold up your picture to the camera? That's awesome. Would you mind bringing it just a little bit closer so I can see some of those cool details? Nice. Oh, there you go. I love the way you did your ghost. And is that a little ghost at the bottom too?
Peeking out.
Little peeking out. I love that. That's great. So what do you think was your favorite part of making this picture?
Making the sky.
Making the sky. Your sky looks awesome. I bet you had a lot of fun doing that. It looks like you had a lot of fun. Very colorful and fun. What about you, Irene? Are you at a good point to show me your art? Goodness, look at that. That looks awesome so far. You're doing a great job. So don't worry about going a little slower. That's totally okay. Work at your own pace. This is looking awesome so far. So what was your favorite part that you've done so far?
My favorite part was drawing the hill and the haunted house.
The hill and the haunted house. Nice. Oh, I see you have 2 little gravestones down there. Little matching ones?
Yeah.
Very cool. I like that. It adds a little bit of balance to it. And what are you most looking forward to doing when you finish this up?
I'm looking forward to show it to people.
To show it to people? Yeah, that's awesome. Totally. Well, you know what? If you want to send a picture to us when you're done, you can take a little picture and email it to the AL Studio because I'd love to see how it turns out when it's done. Okay, do you have any last questions for me before we go?
Do you remember how to do the rest? Or you remember?
Yeah, if you want, I can give you any little refresher on any part that you might have missed.
I think I know how to do everything.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. So let me just show you one little finishing touch that I'm gonna do on this. The final thing that I'm gonna do on my picture, just to add a little bit more to the roof, I'm gonna take a brown, and just like I was drawing the bottom side of a cloud, I'm gonna do this kind of whole bunch of curves here in the roof to make it look like shingles on the roof. So only on the roof parts. I didn't want to trace them because I knew they were going to get covered over when I colored it. Let me show you a different angle so it's a little less shiny. quite a bit on this. Oh, you're writing on the back. Happy Halloween! That's awesome. You two did a great job. So I think I'm gonna finish this real quick. You can see my finished one. See what it looks like all done.
Very good. Did you learn some? You can show it today. And then come down. No.
All right, so looks like this is time. So thank you so much for coming. I think you both did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.